Welcome in our co-host. He is a former member of the House of Delegates, 26 years, though not concurrently. Also as a Deputy Revenue Secretary of the State, Vietnam War veteran, Mr. John Doyle. Good morning, Mr. D.
Good morning, everybody. And I mean everybody.
Well, that's good, because some mornings you exclude a whole bunch of our audience. They don't like it.
Well, maybe I'll say that some morning. Good morning, some of you. But not be specific about.
Let them wonder.
Yes.
Is he talking to me or not? He is the New York Times best-selling author, retired firefighter, safety engineer, Mr. John Gilstrap.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Happy to be here. Good morning to everybody except Charlie Anderson on Winchester Avenue.
You know,
I'm making that up. I have, and if there is a Charlie Anderson on Winchester Avenue, I was just making that up.
You know what you did, sir. You know what you did. The
I'm
Powerball.
going to look up the old phone book as soon as I get home.
Do you have a phone book still?
I do. I do have a Jefferson County phone book from Frontier Communications. I still look up numbers in that. And yeah.
How old is it?
Maybe it has to be at least 11 years, maybe 12, 13, or even 14, somewhere along in there.
I wonder what the last year was when phone books were actually issued and distributed.
I don't know.
It may, if you're like a young person, you're going, what's a phone book?
Yeah, I know.
Basically, they were the size of a suitcase, and they had every number in there known to man.
Well, in your recollection, when did you first have to start using the area code here to make a phone call?
At least 20, 25, I'm thinking. Okay. Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Powerball jackpot is now at $1 billion. So, John, it's okay for you guys to buy a ticket now. It's up high enough that you can notice it.
Yeah, why not just wait until the percentage gets so low that you really do have zero chance of winning to go buy a ticket?
It's never zero.
Well, I know.
Well, the odds of you winning don't change based on the amount of the prize. Those odds remain the same. The odds of you sharing it with somebody might if more people buy, but the odds of you winning are always the same. 1 in 291 million, which is basically one person in the country. Let's say good morning to our first guest, Delegate Michael Hite. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Great to be here.
You're looking at a mirror image of each other because Gilstrap is you tomorrow morning when you can't be here.
Oh, nice.
They both have exactly the same beard. Similar glasses.
He has more hair. I'll go ahead and get that out there.
Yeah,
we're like twins. He writes books. I've been in one of his books.
Yeah,
yeah, it all works out.
He drives Satan's vehicle.
Yeah.
I've never been in any of his books, and I hope never to be because I fear what he might say about me.
You said that out loud.
Done deal now. Mike, let's talk about the states. But first, we had Speaker Hanshaw on yesterday, and he laid out the approach the Republicans will take in the upcoming legislative year. You were pictured on the Metro News website to beside the Speaker when he was being photographed along with a whole bunch of other people who were around that announcement, but I specifically noticed you because I know you.
Yeah, I saw that picture. It wasn't very flattering. I looked like one of the Lollipop Guild standing behind him. I think they took it from like up above, so it made him look even taller and me even shorter. And I was probably 3 feet behind him, so I look like one of the munchkins back there.
I thought you looked good, other than you were looking down.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome, sir. So the approach Republicans are taking is it a approach that the governor is also taking, or are you guys working in lockstep with him, or is this what you guys are laying out on your own?
This was us on our own. I mean, the governor every year comes in with his State of the State address and sort of laying out what his path forward is for the year. And generally, we don't, as a legislature, do that. But this year, our caucus chair, Mr. Hornby, and his assistant spent a lot of time doing surveys with our caucus membership, one-on-one, pretty much, and talking about what each individual delegates' priorities were for the year, and sort of took that compilation of ideas and put it together and sort of put a priority list together. And those priorities are what the speaker laid out on Tuesday in his announcement. This is what our legislative caucus would like to prioritize for the upcoming session.
In the Justice Administration, other than the first year, and even some in the first year actually, but other than the first year when there was a budget deficit, the remaining 7 years seem to be a focus on attracting business to West Virginia. We're on a rocket ship to the moon. We're generating revenue. We're attracting businesses.
Sure.
I don't get that impression from the Morrissey administration. It seems to be an administration that is sidetracked by social issues and small issues and approaches to things. Am I misreading the first year? Do you have a good read on what the first year of the Morrissey administration was focusing on yourself?
Well, I don't want to say that he wasn't focused on job growth. I think sometimes if you go back and listen to his State of the State address, you'll see that it was more than just social issues. But a lot of times it's the social issues to get all of the media attention. So I think there was a tremendous amount of media attention on the social issues last year, and that all the other stuff that administration was looking to accomplish sort of got buried underneath of that.
Well, in defense of the media, and I guess you could consider me a member of the media since
Sure.
this is a media outlet. If the legislature spends 60 days debating vaccination policy, then that's what we focus on. If the governor every month announces a new business is coming into West Virginia that attracts 300 jobs, 800 jobs, and pays $80,000, $90,000 a year, then that's what we focus on.
Sure.
We don't just make up vaccination policy to focus on if it's not in the news every day out of the legislature because the governor is focusing on that himself.
Well,
So that's my in defense of the media comment.
I would agree with that. The vaccination issue was a big issue in session last year, but it certainly wasn't. As a legislator, it certainly wasn't the thing that was the only thing we were tackling down there. It got a lot of attention because it was such a controversial issue, because we were so close in numbers of whether it was going to pass and how it was going to pass, and then ultimately didn't. So I think that's one of the reasons it got a lot of attention. And I think that's sort of what the media hones in on, those controversial issues, not so much something that's going to get a 90-10 split or even a 75-25 split. It's those ones where you have a supermajority, and even the supermajority is split on the issue. So I'm not trying to fault the media. I'm just saying that's what the focus was, probably because we were so split.
Yeah, Mr. Gilstrap.
Yeah. You have sat in that seat across from Larry Schultz, who has sat in this seat, and he hammers the negatives that I think are beginning to resonate a lot, and that is the spike in affordable the end of the ACA, Affordable Health Care Act subsidies, which means health care is going up, the decrease in Medicaid, which kind of hasn't hit yet, but we know it is coming, all before the benefits of the big, beautiful bill have arrived. Is the Republican caucus, is there a plan in place to get ahead of the negative media attention that we know is coming? Because there's a lot of negative stuff that is coming before the benefits of the tax credits and such from the big beautiful bill can actually get any traction. Is there a strategy for how we're going to how the Republicans are going to handle that?
I don't know that there is at the state level. I mean, it's one of those things we looked at until the big beautiful bill passed and we knew what the heck was in it. It was hard to devise a strategy of what exactly to do. And now it has passed, and it passed while we were out of session. So there's been talk about how does this affect West Virginia, and what are we going to do to alleviate some of the issues. But there's nothing concrete yet, I would say, other than it's going to affect our budget and how we budget things. I would say to the ACA and the whole ACA issue, this was something that President Obama said was going to take care of the cost of health care, and it certainly hasn't. It has continued to skyrocket, even though It was supposed to control costs. And then I think under the Biden administration during COVID, there were many enhancements that came along with the ACA. And I think the Big Beautiful Bill is one of those things that said we're not going to continue those enhancements. So we have to sort of determine how's that going to affect people in West Virginia. And then, do we have to throw in more state money? And if we do, where does it come from? Those are all things that I think we'll have to hash out in this upcoming session.
Well, I always wondered that there are two parts to this. One is to lay the blame where it belongs, which would be on the Democrats from 15 years ago when they started this mess, and they knew that it was going to be a bomb that blew up in 2025.
But isn't that all
but
legislation is that way though?
But
even tax cuts
but
stop in 10 years.
But that's the reality is that the issue is not the fault of the Republicans. However, the Republicans the music stopped when the Republicans have the chair, right? So they have to fix it. And I'm not hearing anything from the Republican Party at the national level or the state level about how we're going to fix the problem other than, the prices are going to go up, but it's not our fault.
I agree with you. And I think the Republicans do have some fault. There's some blame that needs to go on there. You can't just come out and yell at the top of your lungs that this is horrible without having some alternate plan. And I think this was something even after the Obama years that they used to get Trump elected the first time, saying that the ACA was terrible, it was terrible, but yet had no plan of how to fix it. And they had several years under the Obama administration to come up with some other plan to replace the ACA or to dial it back, and they had nothing. They just used it as a weapon, a political weapon to get reelected. And then you had the first Trump administration and 4 years of that, and nothing, no plan. And now you've had 4 more years of the Biden administration, and again, nothing. We're 5 years after Biden was elected, and we still don't have a plan. So I would say the Republicans have had plenty of time to come up with some alternate plan, and they haven't done it yet. So shame on them. You can't continue to use this as it was somebody else's fault. Okay, it was somebody else's fault. How are you going to fix it? And since you haven't, shame on you.
I began to come of age politically in 1952 when I was 10 years old. And at the time, I supported Dwight D. Eisenhower for president. Now, I couldn't vote for him, certainly, but I was actually, was very enthusiastic about that. Had big arguments with my younger brother, who was for Adlai Stevenson. But at any rate, one of the reasons there were two reasons I thought Eisenhower should have been elected. One is the Democrats had been in for 20 years and the country just simply needed a change. The other is that Dwight D. Eisenhower had accomplished something that no other Republican could. He finally persuaded them to stop saying, we're going to repeal Social Security. Ever since Social Security was adopted in 1933, the Republican Party had been saying, we need to do away with it. It's a boondoggle. We can't have it anymore. And it was pretty obvious that the country was not accepting that. Now, you could maybe make a logical case for that, a philosophical case, but the country was not buying it. And I think that's where we are with the ACA now. The Republicans during the 30s and 40s never said, we're going to try to come up with a replacement for Social Security, which does it at least as well, maybe better, and does it more through the private sector. They didn't try that. They just said, we're going to repeal it. At least this time, some Republicans are saying, as you just did, Delegate Hite, if we're going to get rid of it, we got to have something to replace it with that the country will say, okay, this works. And yes, so far it hasn't come up with. So what I wanted to shift gears here a little bit, though, and that is, and I'm going to stick up for Governor Morrissey here a little bit. He and I disagree on a whole lot of issues. I think, Rob, when you mentioned, his approach to economic development, I sense, and I haven't talked to him about this, so I don't know. He might say, no, John, that's not what I think, and that could very well be. But just from observing, my sense is that he looked at Jim Justice's record over the 8 years. And yes, there were maybe a half a dozen shiny objects that we were able to get, like the Nucor plant over near Huntington, which actually did some good for the areas in which they were to be located. But these kinds of things really don't improve the overall economy of the state. It's like, dropping a pebble in a lake. Right where the pebble hits, it causes some ripples. I sense that what he wants to do is to change some of the overall structure that in his mind will improve the economy overall. Maybe the kinds of improvements that will cause small businesses all over the state to hire one or two more people. And he and I might disagree about how this is done, but I do sense that he has perhaps decided that rather than go after the 3 or 4 big fish, let's see if we can feed the smaller fish and let them get a little bit bigger. That again, I haven't talked to him. I don't know. That is just a sense I get.
Well,
now,
I hope that's not the case.
Okay.
Because I would have to disagree with that. And,
all right.
And bringing in big fish like Nucor, I think, made a tremendous effect in that area of the state. And anytime you can lift up an area that is downtrodden at that point, that needs those jobs and is on the system, I will say, because of a lack of job, I think that does help the entire state. And when you bring in those larger industry, there's a ripple effect to smaller industry that has to come in and around it to support it as well. So I think it's not just the big Nucor that came in and provided jobs. It's all the companies that come in and have to support Nucor that provide jobs as well. And I think you have to have both approaches. Not only, and I think if you listen to the announcement that Speaker Hanshaw made, that is part of our agenda, is not just to focus on large industry coming to West Virginia, but also to provide incentives for small businesses that want to come or are already here in West Virginia and give them some benefits as well.
Yeah, okay, a couple other points, and you're right. There's something I didn't say, then that is, in some of these shiny objects that we went after, they ended up turning bust. This happens sometimes too. And I would agree with you. Maybe what he is doing is saying, maybe we've paid too much attention to the big fish and not enough to the little fish. It may be that. I wanted to ask you another question to shift gears, if I could. As you know, I was in Charleston over the weekend when
Yes,
you
sir.
guys were in session. Mike and I ran into each other a couple times. I had some conversations with Republican members of the legislature who are friends of mine, and these are private conversations. I'm not going to say who they were. I do get the sense, Mike, and I wonder if you do, that maybe there may be some changes to House Bill 2014, the bill that created the incentives for data centers. Have you heard any of that? That members are thinking that perhaps some changes need to be made to the bill that was passed last year?
No, I haven't heard that at
Okay.
all. And
Okay.
I don't think there is a desire to make any changes. There was a lot of negotiations that went into that bill at the time it was being passed, and I don't see anybody having the appetite to revisit that.
I have talked to some, and it is in two areas. One is on the local control area, that maybe some of the local control needs to be given back to local communities. And also in terms of the tax structure, maybe some of that money that the state captured should be getting, maybe not all of it. No, I don't think anybody wants to give, I would, but none of the people I talk to want to give all of it back. But some have indicated that it probably would be better and make these things more attractive to people around the state if the counties were able to keep more of that property tax money, either in the form of putting it into the pot that goes to all counties or putting it into the pot that goes to the county where the data center is.
I would have to see the bill and how it was written. It's no secret I'm all about local control and more local control. So, it may be something I would be in favor of. I would just worry that this is something we could spend a lot of time on just for the governor to veto it in the end anyway, because that is not what he wants.
Oh, I know that's not what he wants.
So, why would we waste a whole bunch of time doing that just for something we know he's going to veto? So, Not that I would be against it. I would have to see how it was written.
Okay.
But
Right.
I just don't know that there's an appetite for that.
What is the Mike Hite legislative priority in 2026?
It's economic development. I want to see more economic development in the state. And as you know, many people know that, I'm part of the international economic development team that Mr. Hornby heads up. And we spent a lot of time this past year trying to attract international business back to West Virginia, those who want to get into the U.S. market or those who are already in the U.S. market and want to expand, and to present West Virginia as a viable opportunity for them through our underutilized airports that we have, regional airports we have here in West Virginia.
Is there an effort within the, and also before I ask this question, I also want to say that when you get Nucor and CMC into West Virginia, those names are so respected within the steel industry, the larger steel industry, the extended steel industry, that makes it okay for other industries, other companies within that industry to come into West Virginia. I think that's really an important element of bringing big name companies into West Virginia, right? It kind of clears the deck. It makes it cool for other companies to come in. Now, my question to you is, in the economic development piece, are we targeting at all the areas that have that once were industrial and have collapsed, and to try to bring them back to life? Is that at all an underlying focus of what we're doing?
Sure. A lot of the brownfield areas
Yeah.
that we have around the state, I would say absolutely. We want to re-energize those areas, and that was one of the things that happened with the Form Energy up in the northern Panhandle. If you look at that area, that was a big steel area, and it was a huge brownfield site. And if I don't know if you've ever been there, but if you see the Form Energy plant, it literally looks like the phoenix rising out of the ashes on that particular site. That it is such a huge brownfield site. It is literally the definition of a brownfield site. And then you have this great big plant, new industry booming up from the ashes there. So it's really, really cool to look at. So, I would say that is a focus.
Mr. Hite, thank you kindly for coming in today.
Sure.
We will miss you tomorrow.
Yes, I am. There's a chamber legislative issue tomorrow.
Mr. Gilstrap, I'm sure, will very ably fill your shoes.
Absolutely.
It's not possible to fill your shoes.
Yes.
Only one Mike Hite. Thank you, Badger.